Uh, in the last lesson, we dealt with King Chizkiah, who was a just king, and he followed the Almighty. Okay, and it was said for him that no other king before and not after was like him. Um, uh, right after King Chizkiah, there was King Menashe, who was, uh, by the text, he was very um, rebellious to the Almighty. Not only that one, is the first one who positioned idols inside the temple in Jerusalem. Other kings that even if they were idol worshippers, they did not uh, defile the temple. But King Menashe was the one who did so. Okay. After King Menashe, there was another king who was also uh, rebellious to the Almighty, Ammon, his son. And then after these two kings, there was a king, in Hebrew it's Yoshiyahu. In English, it's Josiah. Okay, we will keep it as Josiah. Okay, in the English, um, and um, and this king is unique in in one major point. Uh, it's very interesting to realize it. You can see it right on the top of the screen that right after um, King Solomon, the United Kingdom was split into one kingdom of Israel and one kingdom of Judea. And right then, the the king of Israel, in order to separate, excuse me, in order to separate himself from Jerusalem, he created his own idols, not far away from Jerusalem, and even in different dates, not according to the dates that the biblical text mandates. Okay, uh, actually, it was 1 month later. Uh, so, and then what the text is telling us right then and there that when uh, this Yerovam was standing by the altar, there was a god of there was a man of of God, okay, and he said the time will come and there will be a son born to the house of David, and his name will be Josiah. That's very interesting if you think about it, that Josiah is the only king that was predicted in a prophecy. Well, if you go by years, that will be over 300 years before Josiah even was born, actually. It's an interesting point to realize, okay? So anyway, we can move into the reign of Josiah, okay? And as a matter of fact, Josiah was let me say this way, it was even more than Chizkiyahu, the Chizkiah that we addressed last lesson. We will see how come, okay? Uh, and um, and unlike Chizkiah, who died peacefully uh, in his bed, so this way, uh, Josiah, although he was following the Almighty to the letter, unbelievable, to the letter. So he was killed by the Egyptian king who invaded Israel, and actually Josiah started his reign when he was only 8 years old, and he actually died when he was 39 years old. The the text wants to tell us that if a king was following the Almighty, the king was successful. If he didn't, he was not successful. But you can see here uh, a king that was following the Almighty and still got killed at a very young age, actually. It is a point. After Josiah, let me say this way, there were two kings that reigned only 3 months each, 3 months each, and there were two kings that reigned each one 11 years. So practically 22 years after Josiah, kingdom, the kingdom was over. The kingdom was over. So actually, Josiah was very close to the end of the kingdom. It is a point to note, actually. Okay, uh, and um, and let's continue. So, what it is said uh, that uh, 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 that it is a point that let's go first. I didn't position it correctly. Well, I went by the order, but let's go to the book of Jeremiah. It is says in the book of Jeremiah, right at the beginning, that's how the book of Jeremiah started, that Jeremiah was started his prophecy in the year 13 of a, uh, a, a, in the year 13 of Josiah. Okay. And then 5 years later, 5 years later, King Josiah sent his officials to the temple to take care of the uh, infrastructure of the temple. And actually, what he demanded the priests at the temple to take the donations that people donated to the temple, and actually there is a lot of money got accumulated at the temple treasury, okay? And Josiah demanded that this money would be used not for the priests, but it should be used to repair the temple, meaning to take care of all the workers that were working to take care of the temple, carpenters, builders, whatever. So it is an interesting point. So King Josiah sent his officials to the temple in order to take care of the infrastructure. And what happened there, it's a very interesting point. What happened when these officials came to the temple, the priest there told the officials that let's go to this text where it is, um, that he found a book. I put it in the blue, actually, in the center of the screen. He found a book of the Torah in the house of the Lord. Okay, that's a very interesting point. Actually, I went to check, and although we are only discussing the biblical text, but it's a point that Josephus, who wrote history of the Jews, and Josephus was after the destruction of the Second Temple, okay? And he wrote in his book that they found several books, not only one book, but we will go by the biblical text that they found one book, okay? And the official who read the book was very troubled, okay? So he took the book and brought it to King Josiah, okay? And let's go. And he read it to the king. Interesting. One can wonder why the king couldn't read it himself, but okay, no problem. But the priest read the book to the king, and the king was uh, was devastated. Okay, there was a message in the book that was such a terrible message that the king torn his clothing and started like we will say like when you are mourning for the destruction of the temple, you are like a mourning for a deceased relative, whatever. So the king was very upset, very troubled. Okay, and in it and because the what the book actually said that the anger of the Almighty will go against the people, against Jerusalem, against the temple, okay, against everything. And for why the anger will be so much, and not so much because of Josiah. Josiah, nobody could complain about him. But let's not forget that two generations before Josiah, meaning his grandfather, Menashe, who was the son of Hiskiah, was the most evil king in terms of idol worshipping, who defiled the temple actually. So therefore, the Almighty decree was that it is time to get rid of the entire Judean kingdom and the entire temple and the entire Jerusalem and even the population. The Almighty gave up on them totally. That's what uh, the the book that they read was saying. Okay, if you can see it actually, right when I put it in gray, that that the fathers of Josiah did not adhere to the laws, to okay? And therefore, it is time to get rid of everything and everyone. So, and let's not forget, because that's why I started with the timeline. With the timeline, after Josiah, it was only 22 years, and the kingdom was over. Uh, Actually, the Babylonian king invaded Judea and destructed the temple, killed the king's sons in front of his eyes. Then he blinded the king and he took the king to be in his palace in Babylon. All right? We are talking here, although Josiah was a just, okay, kept the Torah to the letter. But still, the ending of the kingdom was very close, very close. Okay, so let's continue. That was the book. That was the book that that was found in the temple. Okay, so now well, that's a book. Okay, so the king and the officials went to consult uh, a prophetess in Jerusalem, Hulda, and that's an interesting one because we don't have any book of this prophetess, and there is actually no mentioning of her anywhere except this place, actually. So they went to consult her, and she said, yes, she confirmed the information in the book. And she said to the officials who went to consult her, you can go back to the king and tell him that, yes, there is a very, very serious anger of the Almighty on this place. And the place is already destined to be destroyed. Okay? And because the Almighty was provoked by the two kings before Josiah, okay? Before Josiah. That's um, uh, and also she uh, sent the message that although you will finish you reach your grave in peace. Actually, that was not true because he actually was killed by the Egyptian king. So uh, uh, and uh, and you will not be able to see the evil, not in your lifetime, you will not see the evil that come on this place. Okay? So let's see what happened now. So now, that's an interesting point. The king convened all the elders of Judah and Jerusalem, and uh, and uh, and they read. And now it's interesting because now the book is being labeled as the book of the covenant, okay? The covenant, okay? Sefer Abrit, the book of covenant, and that was found in the house of the Lord, okay? Okay. And um, they committed themselves, okay, to keep all the commandments, all the rules, all the regulations, with all their hearts and soul, exactly as it is being said in the first five books of Moses, the demand to adhere to all the commandments. Okay, so so uh, and that's an interesting point. Then the king, what the king did now, the king ordered to take all the idols from the temple. Well, that's a very interesting point because although the king was following the Almighty, uh, and remember, his grandfather Manasseh, the son of Hiskiah, positioned idols in the temple, and still these idols were there while the king was reigning. But let's not forget that he started his reign when he was only 8 years old. Only 8 years old. So I would imagine that it took several years until he reached adulthood and he could move whatever. So if he started at age 8, I mean, if you think about it, then the year that Jeremiah started his prophecy, King Josiah was 31, meaning 13 years. It says that Jeremiah started his prophecy 13 years into the reign of Josiah. So Josiah was 21, and the book was found 5 years later. So when he was 26, okay? When he was 26, and then the king moved to uh, cleanse the temple, and to burn all the idols. And he really moved very seriously, actually, if you think about it. And not only that one, it says even in chapter 23, verse 6, he not only took the one idol, he took another idol, the Asherah, from the house of the Lord. And, um, and not only that one, if you um, we talked about it a long time ago, that the Egyptian pagan religion was included actually sexual intimate relations within the religion, and there were even officials who were sort of like serving the people in this sort of behavior in the religion, in the Egyptian religion. So they were called Kedeshim, and Menashe put this Kedeshim, which is the worst and the worst actually in the way of the Almighty, as we read this last Shabbat in the text of Exodus, that was part of the the sin of the golden calf actually. Okay, so and Menashe put this stuff, not this stuff, he even built a house for them in the area of the temple. Unbelievable, actually. So, and King Josiah got rid of them as well. Okay, got rid of them. So what the king did, he went against for example, it says in chapter, close to the end of the screen now, chapter 23, verse 11, that he took all the horses that the king of Judah gave to the son. As a matter of fact, if you think about it, in Deuteronomy, when it is the laws of the king, the first thing that it says that he should not have too many horses. The reason is that horses were associated with Egypt. As a matter of fact, let's not forget that King David and King Solomon, and even at that time, all the people of Judea were using donkeys. They didn't use horses. Horses uh, were considered to be associated with Egypt, and the text forbade the king. And actually, even King Solomon had thousands of horses, meaning he violated the prohibition not to have too many horses, actually. So uh, the King Josiah, okay, let's continue. Not only it is said specifically that he cleansed the area of the temple and Jerusalem of what King Menashe did to that degree. And not only that one, he also took the uh, the idols that King Solomon, we are talking here over 300 years before him, that King Solomon had built on a mount near Jerusalem. Actually, it was not in Jerusalem. It is said in the text when talking about King Solomon that he did it close to Jerusalem. But never mind, this King Josiah was also got rid of what King Solomon did. As a matter of fact, you need to realize one important point. From this one, we learn that King Chizkiah, although he was following the Almighty, he didn't do it. He didn't. He didn't get rid of what King Solomon did. That's a major point to realize it. It is no wonder that these two kings got the same formula, that there was no king before and no king after, because actually Josiah even uh, uh, surpassed King Chizkiah in the way that he cleansed the area. Okay. Not only that one, let's not forget that before King Chizkiah, already the kingdom of Israel was over, demolished, and all the tribes that were in the Israeli kingdom went to exile in Babylonia. Okay. And I think at that time it was Assyria that did it. Never mind, but they were already over. So actually, King Josiah not only cleaned the kingdom of Judea from all the idols, he also went to the area of the, well, it was not kingdom anymore, but he went to the area of the what was before the kingdom of Israel, and he cleaned that area also to that degree. Okay, so he was very particular in terms of I'm going to clean everything. That's what it was actually. Okay, and and he uh, and he burnt everything and threw all the ashes to that degree that there will be no way for anyone to even go, let's say, to the burial of the idols to worship the burial area. So he actually made sure that get rid of everything. All right? So let's continue. Okay. So it is said that he also went to take all the altars that were built by the Israeli kings. Remember, unlike the Judean kings, okay, we are talking about two different kingdoms. So actually, he cleaned all the area, practically all the area to that degree. In a way, that he was uh, he was um, the only king uh, since King David. That's a point to realize it. Since King, well, at the time of King David, there was no temple because King David didn't build a temple, but King Solomon built a temple. But there is no mentioning anywhere that at the time of King David, there was any idols anywhere in Jerusalem or whatever. None whatsoever. Okay, not in his kingdom. So it is a major point. So this King Josiah was uh, seriously, it could be considered the son of David, as the text is calling several kings, the son of David, son of David. So this king was very, very um, uh, how would I say it, adhering to the law. Okay. Not only that one, there is another point which is interesting to read it actually. What this king ordered, because in the book that it was found, the festival of Passover was mentioned, okay? And therefore, he ordered to celebrate Passover. And not only that one, the text says that Passover was not even celebrated or mentioned anywhere in not in Judea and not in Israel since the time of the judges. Unbelievable. So, and let's not forget that if this is what he said, even King Chizkiah, who was, we read about it, that he was a great king, he was uh, uh, a just king, followed the Almighty, and prayed the Almighty, and the Almighty responded to him, whatever. But the main point is, Passover was not celebrated even at his time. The first time since the judges uh, was King Josiah, because he actually read the book and went according to the book. That is, it said in the book, let's do what the book is saying. So he ordered to do the Passover. Okay? And interesting, and it is said, by the way, you read it now, the last read on the screen, that it was at the year 18 years of King Josiah that Passover was celebrated. So we are facing here exactly the time the book was found. Okay, the book was found at the time Josiah was 18 years, so he was 26 years old, and at that time they started to celebrate Passover, which was not celebrated for 300 years. I would imagine even over 300 years, because the kingdom of Judea, starting from King David till the end of the kingdom, was 400 years. So if we take the time of King David, the time whatever, so it is around 300 years that Passover was not celebrated. All right? So now the text comes to tell us that that King Josiah went to confirm everything that was written in the book, and now you realize that we have a few points what is mentioned in that book. Number one is the prophecy that the people will be expelled from the land. Okay, that's why the king was so shocked and frightened and everything, and only then he moved to go against the idols that were spread all over, and even clean the temple. Okay, and uh, and the and also that the book must have included the Passover. So because there was, let me say this way, there was no other book in front of the king. There was no other book in the temple, because the text only mentions one book. Okay, so and in spite of everything that King Josiah did, the text ends with will that will not change anything in terms of the prediction which is mentioned in the book. Let's not forget, the prediction in the book is that the people will be expelled from the land, and well, till now they were not expelled, at least not the part of Judea were not expelled. So, but because of Menashe, and that's why and specifically the text is attributing everything to Menashe, actually. So, so this is the point that we need to go and check which book actually was found in the temple. And that's why I emailed you that we will have a short lesson this time, and next lesson we will have a very long lesson to address that book in different ways, and to see not only how the book is a different book, but we will see also who wrote the book. Who wrote the book? That's an interesting point. Okay, so let's not forget. I would like to summarize. Uh, the um, the King Josiah started to reign when he was 8 years old. when 13 years later, the prophecy of Jeremiah started. That King Josiah was 21 years old. The book was found 5 years later when King Josiah was in his 18th year of reign. So he was 26. And at that time, the book was found in the temple. Okay. And the book is really shook up the king and even all the elders of the land. And at that time, they celebrated Passover the first time since the era of the judges. Interesting one. Uh, you can see actually uh, it is really part of history to realize that there was, let me say this way, ups and downs in terms of going closer to the Almighty and then distancing from the Almighty and then back to closer to the Almighty. But what Menashe did, and that's an interesting point, that he was the son of Chizkiah, who was a very, let's call it religious, a very religious king, and still he was the opposite from his father. Opposite from his father. It is a point to realize that the text is telling us several times who is the mother of the king, and the mother by the name, the mother of King Josiah was Judean. I don't want to say Jewish. At that time there was no Jewish. Jewish, actually, the term Jewish only start to enter in the well, let me say this way. It starts, Jewish language starts with the era of Chizkiah, because when the Babylonian commander came to surround Jerusalem, and they told him, you should talk with us with Aramean, not with the Jewish, meaning Jewish language. So that's the first time the word Jewish, but not in terms of Jewish people, but Jewish language. Jewish people only very heavily start to enter the text very late in the book of Esther, which is at the time of the diaspora in Persia. So then the text is talking about the Jews in Persia. But not it took generations upon generations until the people became Jewish. Let me say this way. They were Judean, they were Israelis. I mean, if they were in the kingdom of Israel, but not even the people who lived in Judea were called Jews. Interesting point to realize it. So what I'm saying is, not only in reality there was evolution, but also in terms of language there was evolution in terms of the culture, the language, the religion. Right. So, I didn't want to start dealing with the book that I want, because I don't want to stop in the middle, because it will be a long journey to check which book we are dealing with. So that's why I emailed you that I would like to devote close to 2 hours next Sunday to deal with that book and to look into it very thoroughly. Okay. Any question? If you have any question till this point, the book itself we will address next week. If you have any question by any chance.
My only question is there any connection between the language here that you're talking about today and the first 5 books?
Okay. Just wait. I will answer you, because one of the book that was found in the temple I will relate to it as one of the five books of Moses.
Aha.
Right. And I need to show you why. I mean, I need to show you why. I mean, it's not, it is a very interesting linguistic journey to show it. Um, okay. So uh, it is one of the five books. Now, just to let you know, I already wrote a book about uh, Bereshit, Genesis, to say that quite likely by the language and linguistic biases that King David wrote the book. Just to mention that it's not that King David uh, wrote the book in that sense, but he moved the oral history into writing, and because he moved it into writing, then his language came across in the writing. Okay, that's a point. Okay,
You should.
we already discussed the book of Leviticus that we had several lessons about it to show that the book Leviticus was written by the prophet Ezekiel. It is the time of the diaspora, meaning the 70 years between the first temple and the second temple, and therefore the book in Leviticus does not talk about king because there was no king at the time, but it talks about the chief, so-called Nasi. What today we use the word Nasi for president. Okay, so but at that time it was, let me say this, chief. Okay, so but there were other points, many points to show exact language in Leviticus and Ezekiel. Okay, so Ezekiel wrote the book Leviticus. So it is a lot later book, Leviticus. Now, it is positioned after Exodus only because the book of Leviticus is dealing mainly with the worship in the temple. And actually, the sages, Chazal, meaning the sages of the people, at the time the canon was consolidated into one book. Okay, so they even called the book Leviticus Torat Kohanim, meaning the Torah of the priests. Okay, the Torah of the priests, which is true. I mean, mostly the book of Leviticus is dealing with sacrifices and the rules about the priest that how he needs to behave and who is going to marry and all this stuff. Actually, if people don't realize it, but even the prohibition against same-sex relationship is only mentioned in Leviticus, and it is not mentioned anywhere else in the other four books. Not even in the book of Numbers, not even the book Exodus, not in the book Deuteronomy. It's only mentioned in Leviticus. So there were very strict rules about the behavior of the priests. That doesn't mean, by the way, that they went by the rules. I'm not saying they went by the rules because there is even a saying that the temple was destroyed a long time before it was actually destroyed, because there was a lot of corruption in the temple. And that was also true in the second temple as well. I mean, the last 200 years of the second temple, it was practically totally corrupt. And actually, the high priest was anyone could buy the position of a high priest. It didn't need to be from even the tribe of Levi. You pay money, you became high priest, whatever. It was interesting. So the main point is that just because there are rules, that doesn't mean people go by the rules. I mean, but it is only towards the end of the temple. For example, I showed you now that Josiah sent his officials to the temple and he asked them that the priests will not accumulate all the donations for themselves, but they should spend the money for the temple itself because they didn't. So well, over time, a building can deteriorate and it needs fixing. So yes, so actually, the priests were, how you call it, were taking care of themselves. That's what comes across from what King Joseph, and that's how the book was found. Because if he were not to take care of the temple and send his officials to the temple, they would not have found the book. Interesting point. So the point is that the uh, the officials in the temple who were priests, okay, they didn't really care of the temple. They took care of themselves, and King Josiah went against it, and that's how when they went against it, that's how they found the book. It is a point to note it, and like I said, King Josiah was. 22 years after his time, the kingdom was demolished and the temple was demolished. It is a point. So today, if you think about it, today, the when we have the mourning for the temple, um, which was the first temple, the second temple. Okay, so there is one date of the year to commemorate this tragic event. That's what it is. Uh, yeah. So coincidence bring coincidence, and then we got a book. And I would like to dedicate a long lesson, take into consideration that it will be a long journey to see it because it is in different ways to see it. It will definitely be longer than 1 hour. I mean, I cannot predict if it will be reaching the 2 hours, but it will be between 1 to 2 hours. I mean, let me say this way. And with that one, after that one, we will take a break from the lessons. And uh, and I need to think about future lessons. Okay. Uh, so if you have any question, if not, let me see. If not, uh,
You need to plan your next book.
okay, I can. You want me to tell you the end of the mystery? Okay, I'll tell you the end of the movie. It is the book Dvarim, the book Deuteronomy. Okay, and actually, even historians attribute uh, the book that was found to be Deuteronomy, but we will go by language. We will go by language to prove it. And there are, you can prove it by content and you can prove it by language. And then we will move to prove by language who wrote the book. We will identify him. Okay?
Very interesting.
Yep. Um, and let me just say that the sages called the book Deuteronomy, and it is mentioned in the book, that label. They called it Mishneh Torah.
Hmm?
Mishneh Torah. And it is mentioned in the text of Deuteronomy that it is Mishneh Torah. Okay? What is Mishneh Torah? Let me explain it. Sheni means second. Mishneh for example, Mishneh LaMelech, so it will be vice royal, the one who's second to the king. So Mishneh Torah will be second to the Torah. In a way, I'm not saying second, but you can say addition to the Torah. And that's the text itself calls the book as such. But also the sages picked it up, and that's how they call Deuteronomy. But what I'm saying is, we will go by content, by language, and then we will move into a long dissertation. Who wrote the book? And and if you listen carefully to this lesson, you might already suspect who wrote the book. Okay? Yes. You okay?
Yep.
Okay. So I will close the session, and I will see you next week, and the mystery will be solved next week. Okay?